Hi guys, Jason here from the Udderfarm. We're actually on the trial property this morning. What I was going to show you today is we've got the girls back in the paddock again, cell grazing through on the trial property. We've had, I'd say, accumulation of 200 and roughly 20 mil of rain over the last couple of weeks and some high temperatures. We've had 31 degrees, which converts out to be about 91, 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and for the last 3 days. So we've had some hot conditions. Summer hasn't started yet, so yeah, she's going to be a warm summer. I think we're expected 28 degrees for the 28, 27 for the next few days, which is converts back to about 81 degrees Fahrenheit. What I want to show you today is, people ask, how long do you leave the cattle in or before bringing them back? See, that's a hard one to answer, guys. With my dilemma at the moment, what I've got is I've got areas in the property which are starting to seed. The plants are coming to seed head, and there's other areas that it's not really ready to bring the cows back in. So it's only been 21 days since I've had them through here, so it's not a great length of time, but you don't want your plants coming to seed or your pastures coming to seed, because the only purpose of a plant or pasture is to come to seed, is to populate, and to drop those seeds and actually the plant will die off. So all the stem, everything, the goodness will run out of it, and then it'll die and the cows won't touch it. So like I said, guys, you've had 220 mil of rain in the last couple of weeks. The reason I brought them back in is because the grass height was starting to take off because of the amount of rain and the amount of sun that we have been getting. But there is certain areas of the pasture over that way which I'm not happy with grazing yet, so it's not ready. So that's the beauty of cell grazing, guys. A good system will allow you to move the cattle through the paddock where required, when required. So normally I strip graze them back and forth from that fence to that fence in a straight line. But as you can see today, I've actually cell grazed this yesterday. There's 2 passes been through this area here, right up to there. And what I wanted to do was actually miss these areas over here in through there. To stand in front of the camera there now, the pasture's probably a foot high. It's not coming to seed, and I reckon it could do with a bit longer recovery. I want to bring that grass up high. I don't want to graze it too early. What I'm trying to do is actually get the forage up high enough. I want some tall matter, so there's more carbon being put back on the ground, trampled, when the cows walk through it when they're feeding. If you get in too short, they're getting a good feed, but you're not putting any matter, your litter bank, back on the ground to feed the microbes and also protect the soil and to build the topsoil. So you don't want to bring them in early to the point where they're constantly grazing the fresh clippings, but they're not putting carbon on the ground, because you're not providing the microbes what they need to survive and also to convert your topsoil. But the hard thing is, guys, when I was continuously grazing, they would eat everything in this paddock. But you get areas like this now that are left. There's a little bit brown grass through there, mixed with a bit of green grass. The cows used to hammer that all the time. There's some there as well. So it's left standing tall because it's got a bit of dead matter in it. They're not eating it. I could force them into the area, and they probably would, but it's all trial and error, guys. That's what I'm saying. There's no set timing to bring the cows in. It's when the pasture is fully recovered, as I showed in the previous video. That was being nipped off. The end of that has been flat. But when it is fully recovered, it ends up being a tip. The tip comes back like that, and then you know you're right to come back in. Or, for this instance, I'm looking for height. So I want more carbon on the ground, so I want to leave it a bit longer. But I'll tell you what, it's a tricky one, because all this area here was all clover, and as you can see they've chewed the clover off. I've been finding the first thing that cows go for when you bring them in the paddock is the clover. They'll eat all the clover down to the ground. You know, they have, like you see, they have flattened some there. There's areas flattened down, but also it's right down to the ground. So the pasture, I find, recovers pretty fast. Then once all the clover's gone, as you can see through there, all clover, they've left that stuff through there and just predominantly worked around that and eaten the clover. Then they've come back and eaten the tips off any other grasses. I've got probably, there'd be a good, I don't know, be close to 300 mil there, a foot of grass remaining. That's what I like to keep on the ground before I move the girls. This area here had a bit more because I've got a septic system that runs through here from the house, so it's always green. And I want them to nail it last night because, as you can see, a lot of this Rhodes grass is coming to seed. And that's the areas which I want the cows to get into and chomp off. So I reckon they've probably got maybe 2/3 of the seeds or the plant through that area. So I moved them on down there. I moved them into here. A lot of this was seed, so they've done a good job. There's still a fair bit of seed here, guys, but there's only probably about 1/3 of the amount of seed now than when I originally started. So this is an irregular paddock. It goes from over there across to here and down to there, and then it zigzags over to the troughs over there. So the reason why I've done that, because this here, none of this is coming to seed, but in here there was seed, a fair amount of seed in these areas here, which I wanted to get rid of. So what I intend doing now is, there's still a bit of forage in here. I've only put them in here late yesterday afternoon, probably 5 o'clock. I'll probably leave them go a couple more hours till about 6 or 7, and then I'll move them in to the next area. Morning, girls. It's not very often I'm up before the girls get up, but I've got a big day to plan today, guys. I've got to go out to the Udderfarm. We've had some erosion issues on the road out there since we've had all the rain, and I've got to go out with the tractor and fix up a bit of the road. At the moment it's not allowing me to get up with my car and my zero turn to mow the property, so it's going to be a working day out there today. I'll probably put that on video. So this is the area they're going into next, guys. It'll be in a couple of hours. I'll just step across this electric fence, and you see all the seed here, all this Rhodes grass. It's all coming to seed now. So unless I'm getting the cows in to start chewing this down, it's just going to die off. As you can see, there's delineation in there. There's only a few scragglers with seeds. So I don't want to put them in there yet, because I want to let that grow so they get more compaction and more carbon on the ground. If you come down here, all this is seed. All this Rhodes grass is coming to seed. So this is the area that we're getting today. I'll bring them in through here, all seeds. And down the end here, I'll bring them in here tonight. So let's cross this electric fence. So look, this is the area I'll bring them tonight, and as you can see, this is absolutely full of seeded Rhodes grass. So I need to get this stomped down. Some of this, if you have a look, is about, I'd say a metre high. It's up to my waist. I could show you, but I have to turn the camera around, and every time I do that it sort of stops. So, and over here, this is the delineation I was talking about. This is where it ends seeding, and this is where the grass I want to rest more. That there is probably only, this area is only 100 mil, and there's areas there probably a couple of 100 mil versus a metre high seeded Rhodes grass. This never had good grass on to start with, guys, so I'm not too happy with that because it seems to be a drier because it's closer to the neighbour's paddock and they constantly mow that down to nothing, so the sun's drying that out. So what I might have to do here is bring in some hay and roll it out along that fence line to build that armour and to build the grass on top of the ground to convert it to topsoil. That way it'll hold the moisture in longer rather than be no armour or mulch on top of that ground. Every time it rains it dries out. Have a bit of matter on the ground so then the water sits under the armour and holds the moisture longer, and then it'll give me a chance to pull up some grasses or pull up some seeds. I'll spin this camera around and I'll show you how high this Rhodes grass is. So just to give you an idea how high this Rhodes grass is, I'll stand up next to it and give you so here it is here. So that's probably, oh geez, some of that's coming up to, or between my waist and my chest. So that'd be a good metre high. And like I said, that's already come to seed. So it needs to be hammered down by the cows, otherwise it's going to die off. The rest of the paddocks, there's not really a great deal of Rhodes grass in there. There are patches, so what I'm anticipate doing today is, or the next few days, is running them through those areas and getting that seed nailed off if I can, or at least trampled down to the ground. That way it's not going to grow up and, like I said, die, and that way I can leave the rest of the pastures ungrazed until those areas I've just grazed recovered, and then bring them back in so that I've got more matter on the ground. Because there seem to be, I've brought them through a few times, and don't get me wrong, there is armour there on the ground when it dies off, but I sort of want to build the topsoil a lot faster, so I'm going to try a few different ideas, letting it grow that a little bit longer without going to seed, and then knocking it over when it's higher to lay more matter on the ground. But it definitely, it's definitely a good problem to have, guys. Continuous grazing versus regenerative grazing or cell grazing. I'm just going into the paddock, neighbouring paddock. This is that overflow paddock I use, and as you can see, this paddock here, this has always been continually grazed, and you can see behind me the grass we've got in here. So there's really no grass, no matter on the ground at all. It's just bare. You got the grass and then you got the dirt. You can see the dirt through there. And as you can see, there's really no height on this grass anywhere in this paddock. So I'd sooner have the dilemma of working out whether I've left too much or trampling more, and the girls going through and picking out all the clover, against the girls coming through here and not having a choice of anything to eat at all. It's just go through, eat what you can when you can, because only a matter of time it will die off. This was pretty well dead before we had all those rain. So like I said, it's a good dilemma to have, guys, whether how much you're leaving, whether you take them out early, whether you bring them in early. Otherwise it's there's no choice at all. You'll be buying hay when this is dead. So I'll head out. We've got a few first time heifers in there, so she'll be due in, well, I'd say a few months, and the one over the back, they're first cast heifers. It's the next morning, guys. What I'll do is we'll go for a walk and I'll show you what the cattle have done for me yesterday and last night. Remember I was talking about that seeded Rhodes grass. I need to get rid of that seed, otherwise it's going to drop the seed, the plant's going to die, and all the goodness will drain out and the cows won't eat it. We'll head down now and I'll show you what they've done for me. As you can see, guys, all the head has been taken off this grass. And where we're walking through now was that section I had adjacent to the one they're in now. So there's a lot of rhodes grass through here. As you can see, they've chewed a lot of the stems off the rhodes grass. There is some seed standing, but I'm not too worried about that. That seed will drop into the ground and hopefully start shooting, and pastures should get thicker. But you'd have just a general look through all this. There's one stem there, but the base, everything has been chewed off. You know, nail that bit there. There's another one here. It's got a couple of stems nailed all the rest that was on it. You know, this is what it's like all the way through here. There's a big patch here. As you can see, most of that's been nailed off. There. We're jumping, this was a real bad area. Morning, girls. Once again, and it's just after 5 o'clock. So a lot of the girls have just woken up. Or they may have woken up when they see me come down, because they know they're going to a new salad bar and a fresh feed. So here's that bad area, guys. As you can see, there's a few loose stems sticking up, but I reckon it's a good 80, possibly 90% has already been nailed. So that seed is gone through here. Through there. All that one has been taken off. There is a little bit in there, but I'm not too greatly concerned. What I was planning doing today, a bit over there, you know, a lot of this grass is still well above my shin height, between my shin and my knee. A bit there they can be nailed off, providing they haven't urinated in it. A bit there. So, what I plan doing today, guys, they've clearly slept there, which is good. They've lied that grass down. Someone's lied down there, so that'll break off that sap cycle, and that'll add that carbon back to the ground to feed the microbes. All through here. So what I've done, this gate to the yards was closed last night. So I've opened the yards up. What I'm going to do, instead of moving into a complete area, I'm going to let them have that area I just come out of, so they can chew more for me, and then they can come into these yards and they can chew the grass off in these yards. So there is some high standing grass here. Through there. So I'll let them have this yard today. I've got to go to the Udderfarm and do some road repair work. Those heavy rains we've had washed some Mashall's trenches down the road, possibly a foot deep and probably 3, 4, 5 foot wide. So I can't actually get the car up to be able to do some work on top and slash. So I'll be doing that today. So hopefully when I come back this afternoon, I haven't nailed it too much an overgrazed area, but it's one of those things, guys. It's a risk you've got to take. You know, I could be doing the wrong thing, I could be leaving it in too long, but down this section here, especially this rhodes grass, I find it recovers a lot faster than the other pastures we got through the paddock. So I'll come back this afternoon and I'll show you what they've done. Gotta say morning to Pip before I go. G'day Pip. Hello darling. Righty guys, it's the next morning now. We'll go in and find out how they went on that graze. So this is that area. If we have a look, there's not much seed head left at all actually. It's just about a textbook graze. If you have a look, big clumps like that, with only a couple of seed heads left. Seed head there. Come back across over here. Got all the seed heads there. One little stray one there. Big clumps. Couple there. Absolutely nailed this over here. The whole area there, I think there's probably 2 seed heads. There. And then all the way across the trail there's probably about 10. If you remember, if you go back in the video, this was laden full of rhodes grass and seed heads. So I'm really happy with this, guys. Like I said, this is textbook regenerative grazing. like these cows. You know, as though they've been trained. Look, nothing there at all. As though they've been trained to do this. Eating 1/3 of the plant, all the tips and the seeds which I wanted taken, and 1/3 of the plant. The tip, which is the high in the energy, the sugar content in there. So they've left the rest, the solar panel which you require to grow it back, pulling that carbon from the atmosphere and that sunlight to feed those microbes. So guys, I couldn't ask for any better. Yeah, they did a perfect job, guys. I can't complain that, you know, if they were employees, I'd be getting pay rises for them right now. That I couldn't ask for any better. But actually better still, I guess they are employees. What I'll do for them now is, once I get the timeless fence and the fencing system set up in the Udderfarm, on the bigger property, they'll be getting a fresh salad bar every day. Not just on the odd occasion now when this recovers. Like I said, they're in the Udderfarm over grazing out there. So once I get that set up, my treat for them will be a fresh salad bar on a daily basis. So they can eat to their heart content and put on as much weight as they want, you know. Straight through the lips and on the hips. That's what you're after. Righto guys, I'm gonna end it here. Got to go to the Udderfarm today. I've got that main entrance to my property. I'm putting up fencing and that in preparations to get my timers put in behind it. So have a good morning, have a good afternoon, and have a great eating, guys, wherever you're watching this from, and we'll catch you later.